Have you ever been somewhere, maybe traveling, somewhere really different, and you get that little niggle wondering about the food? Like, is it safe?
Yeah.
How did it even get here?
Mm.
Yeah, well, today we're going to get into that because we're looking at a place where those questions are, well, extra relevant. Ladakh, India. It's beautiful, but it's also really remote, high altitude.
Right, and it's fascinating how a place with those kinds of geographical hurdles tackles something as fundamental as food safety.
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we've looked at the regulations, the local authority, basically how they ensure food is safe up there. It's kind of a behind-the-scenes look at public health in a pretty extraordinary place.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission really is to understand that system, the laws, how it works day to day, especially because it's Ladakh, how they make sure the food meets safety standards in that specific context. So where do we start?
Well, you always have to start with the legal foundation, right?
Okay.
In India. And so in Ladakh, too, the main law is the Food Safety and Standards Act, 2006, the FSS Act.
The FSS Act.
Okay. And what's really interesting here is that this act didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It actually pulled together a whole load of older, separate laws.
Ah, okay. So it was like a big cleanup, consolidating everything.
Precisely. A major upgrade. Before that, you had things scattered all over the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act from way back in '54.
Wow, yeah.
Then various orders for things like fruit products, meat products from the 50s and 70s, rules about vegetable oils, edible oil packaging from different times, even controls on solvent-extracted oils in milk products. It was a real patchwork.
Gosh, yeah. Sounds complicated to navigate before.
Definitely. So unifying them under the FSS Act was a big step.
Yeah.
Make things much clearer, more modern, based on science.
Right. And did this FSS Act also create like a central body?
Yes, absolutely. At the national level, it set up FSAI, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, based in Delhi.
FSAI. Okay. Heard of them.
Yeah, their job is setting the science-based standards for food, regulating everything from making it to selling it, even imports. And then in Ladakh specifically, you have Food Safety Ladakh. They're the regional arm, making sure those national standards are actually followed on the ground.
Okay, so FSSAI sets the rules nationally. Food Safety Ladakh enforces them locally. Makes sense. Who's in charge there, though, in Ladakh?
That would be the Commissioner of Food Safety for the Union Territory of Ladakh.
Right.
And it's a pretty senior role. The Principal Secretary of Health and Medical Education actually holds that position as well.
Ah, okay. So high-level oversight. That shows it's taken seriously.
Yeah.
How did this setup come about? Was it always like this in Ladakh?
No, it evolved. Initially, food control was part of the Directorate of Health Services when Ladakh was part of J&K.
Okay.
Then, back in 1987, it became its own thing, the Drugs and Food Control Organization, or DFCO.
Yeah.
The goal was always the same, though. Safe food and drugs for the public.
Right. Makes sense.
Then, more recently, after the reorganization in June 2019, Ladakh's DFCO was restructured into the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, still headed by the commissioner, basically adapting to the new UT structure.
Got it. Adapting to the changes. So this commissioner role sounds pretty central. What do they actually do? It's more than just admin, I assume.
Oh, much more. They have quite a range of powers and duties. One big one is regulatory oversight. They can actually prohibit the making, storing, selling of unsafe food for up to a year if needed.
Wow. Okay. So they can step in quite forcefully.
Yes. If public health is at risk, the overall goal is making sure the standards are applied uniformly, fairly, transparently.
Yeah.
Credibly.
And how do they check if businesses are actually following the rules?
That's inspection and compliance. The commissioner's team surveys industrial food units, checks they're up to standard.
Okay.
They also monitor food quality in really important places like ICDS centers, for childcare.
Clinical services.
Midday meals in schools, and the civil supply stores, the PDS system, places that reach a lot of people, especially vulnerable groups.
That's crucial. So what if they find something suspect, a food product or maybe a restaurant?
Then it's sampling and testing. Food Safety Ladakh collects samples from businesses, FBOs, food business operators.
Right.
That includes everything, even things like baby food or supplements from chemists. These samples go off to accredited labs for analysis, checking quality, safety, the works.
Okay, so actively testing what's out there. But Ladakh's huge, isn't it? And mountainous. Sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It can be. And that's where something really smart comes in, the mobile food testing laboratory.
A mobile lab, you mean like a van?
Exactly. It allows them to do rapid testing right there, on the spot, which is just invaluable in a place like Ladakh with the distances and terrain.
Wow.
cuts down delays massively, means they can act faster if there's a problem.
That is genuinely clever. Solves the huge problem. So, okay, they're testing. What about the businesses themselves? Do they need permits or something?
Yes, there's a system for licensing and registration. It's tiered based on annual turnover.
Okay, how does that work?
So for the really big players, turnover over 10 crores, they need a central license from FSSAI.
Right, the big guys.
Then for medium-sized businesses, say between 12 lakhs and 10 crores turnover, they need a state license issued by Safety Ladakh.
Okay.
And for the smaller ones, micro businesses, up to 12 lakhs turnover, it's a simpler registration process. It just makes sure the level of oversight matches the scale of the business.
That makes sense. Different levels of scrutiny.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't follow these rules, operates without a license, or sells dodgy food.
Well, that's where enforcement and prosecution come in. Safety Ladakh can and does file legal cases against violators.
Right.
Could be for operating illegally, selling adulterated food, unsafe food. There are consequences.
Good. But it's not all about punishment, is it? Are they doing anything to, like, help businesses get it right?
Absolutely. Awareness and training are key. They run programs for their own staff, obviously, but also for people all along the food chain, producers, distributors, shopkeepers,
Right.
and specific awareness drives for the food business operators themselves, promoting best practices, hygiene, that sort of thing. Prevention is definitely part of the strategy.
Education, yeah. Sounds like they also keep an eye on the bigger picture, trends and things.
Yes, through surveillance, they do surveys, collect samples just to monitor overall food safety trends. And an interesting little extra duty, they inspect the food for VVIP and VIP events.
Ah, right. Got to make sure the dignitaries are okay.
Make sure everyone's okay. But yes, special attention there.
Okay, so it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
Now let's loop back to Ladakh itself. You said the environment creates unique challenges. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a high-altitude, cold desert that severely limits agriculture. The growing season is really short, basically May to August.
Right. Not much time to grow things.
Not at all. So consequently, Ladakh depends heavily on food brought in from outside. Things like rice, spices, tea. A lot of staples have to be imported.
Okay, so long supply chains, potentially.
Exactly. And that brings its own set of potential risks. Transportation, storage in varying conditions, things like that need careful management.
Makes sense. Is anything grown locally then?
Oh, yes. They grow hardy things like barley, some wheat, pulses, famously apricots, potatoes. And there's local dairy, too, from yaks and zomos and, the yak-cow crossbreeds.
Oh, right.
So ensuring the safety of both the imported stuff and the local produce is the challenge. Plus, you've got the growing tourism industry.
Yeah, that must add pressure.
Huge pressure. More people, more demand for food, and visitors expect certain safety standards. It all adds to the complexity.
So given all the environment, the imports, the tourism, how do they pull it off? We mentioned the mobile lab. What else is key?
Well, the mobile lab is definitely a massive help for the practical on-the-ground checks. But also crucial is the link between Safety Ladakh and the national body, FSSAI. That ensures they're working to consistent science-based standards aligned with the rest of India.
Right, not just making it up as they go along.
Not at all. And then, fundamentally, it's the leadership from the commissioner and the dedication of the FDA team doing the inspections, the outreach, the enforcement day in, day out. It's that mix, national framework, local adaptation, technology like the lab, and committed people.
Okay, so if we were to boil this all down, what are the main takeaways from this deep dive on food safety in Ladakh?
I'd say the key thing is that there is a robust system in place. It's grounded in national law, the FSS Act, but it's actively run by a dedicated local body, Safety Ladakh.
Right.
And this body is tackling a really complex job, licensing, inspecting, testing, enforcing in a uniquely challenging environment. They're adapting using tools like that mobile lab specifically because of the geography.
So it's not just a generic system dropped onto Ladakh. It's tailored. That feels like the real aha moment here, understanding the effort that goes into ensuring something like safe food, which we often just assume will be fine, especially in such a distinct place.
Exactly. And why it matters for you, listening, is it gives you a glimpse into how public health regulation works in practice, particularly when faced with specific environmental or logistical hurdles. It shows the need for adaptable systems, ones that can apply national standards but also respond to local realities.
It really does give you, food for thought. Which leads to a final question, maybe. Thinking about how connected our food supply is now, globally, What lessons could other places with their own unique challenges, maybe extreme heat or remoteness or water issues, what could they learn from how Ladakh integrates its food safety efforts within a national framework? Something to chew on, perhaps, next time you think about where your food comes from.